I'm Bhaskar from 4GMAT. Today we're going to look at a question which is a data sufficiency question. It basically looks at the concept of reminders and number properties. Right. Quickly get into the question. What is the reminder when the positive integer x is divided by 6? So finally we need to get an answer to this question, which is we need to find the reminder when x is divided by 6. The two statements given to us are when x is divided by 7, the remainder is 5. And when x is divided by 9, the remainder is 3. As with any DS question, before we go into the statements, we'll basically answer a few questions, get clarity on what to do, and then look at the statements per se. First is, we need to figure out when is the data sufficient. The question is, what is the remainder when x is divided by 6, right? So, the data is sufficient when I'm able to come up with an answer which says, when x is divided by 6, the remainder is equal to one fixed number. If I'm saying the remainder is 2, it's okay. If I'm saying the remainder is 0, it's always divisible by 6. Even then it's okay. The only thing I need to come up with is, I should come up with a remainder which is unique. The data is sufficient when I have a unique remainder from the information given in the statements, right? So this clarity we have. Let's look at the second question. When is the data not sufficient? When I'm saying when x is divided by 6, the remainder could be 2, the remainder could be 5, the remainder could be 0. If I'm not coming with a unique remainder, the remainder is not unique, then the data is not sufficient. Right? And one last question, which is, what do we know about x? Right? The question states that x is a positive integer. So what we know about x is a positive integer. So these are the three things that we need to know. When is the data sufficient? When will you say the data is not sufficient? And then we also looked at what x is. Now let's get into the statements. Statement 1, we'll evaluate the statement. When x is divided by 7, the remainder is 5. See, this question we have chosen primarily to highlight the fact that many of these questions of this nature can actually be solved if we can figure out if there is a counter example, which is to say, I'm able to find out two values of x, both satisfying the condition that when x is divided by 7, the remainder is 5. In one case, when I divide that number by 6, I get a remainder which is a, and in the second case, when I divide it by 6, I get a remainder b. Then we can say that with the information given in statement 1, I am not able to come up with a unique answer, so data is not sufficient. Conversely, if I get a uniform answer for all of these values, then we need to invest a little more time and investigate why this is working before we conclude that the data is sufficient. Right? So all that I'm going to do is primarily take a very simple approach, list down values of x that satisfy statement 1. I have to pick such x that when divided by 7 will leave you reminders of 5. 5 is the first number that I can think of, which is a positive integer, which when divided by 7 will leave you a remainder of 5. The next number that fits the bill is 12. The next number that fits the bill is 19, so on and so forth. So all these numbers when divided by 7 are going to leave you a remainder of 5. So what could x be? X could be any one of these values. What we need to find out is when I divide each of these numbers by 6, do I get a uniform remainder? If I get a uniform remainder, the data is sufficient. We'll have to investigate further. If I get more than one value for the remainder, then we can quickly trash the statement saying that this data is not sufficient. When x is divided by 6, if x is equal to 5, the remainder becomes 5. If x is equal to 12, the remainder becomes 0. Quickly as we look at it, we get more than one value for the remainder. Therefore, the data is not sufficient. We don't even have to look at what happens when 19 is divided by 6 and check out whether the remainder is going to be 1 or 2. More than one remainder, so statement 1 is not sufficient to answer the question. Our answer choices, what can be eliminated? We can eliminate choice A, we can eliminate choice D. What we are left with is choices B, C or E. One of these three choices is what we are left with. Let's look at statement 2. Statement 2 tells us that when x is divided by 9, the remainder is 3. We're going to do exactly the same thing. The process is no different. Let's list down values of x that will satisfy this condition. Right? The first value that I can think of for x is basically x is equal to 3. When 3 is divided by 9, the remainder is 3. The next number is 12. When 12 is divided by 9, the remainder is 3. The next number is 9 more than this, which is 21. So I've listed down some 3 numbers we'll check out if you're getting a uniform remainder with this. If you get a uniform remainder, let's look at why it happens. Otherwise, we can trash statement 2 as well. Right? When x is divided by 6, if x is equal to 3, 3 divided by 6, the remainder is equal to 3. If x is equal to 12, 12 divided by 6, the remainder is 0. So, are we getting a uniform remainder? We are not getting a uniform remainder. We are getting more than one value for the remainder using the data presented in statement 2. So, even statement 2 is not sufficient. So, what all answer choices did we eliminate with statement 1? We eliminated answer choices A and D with statement 1. Now, we will add answer choice B also to this list. So, what we are left with is the answers could be C or E. Third process is basically combining the information given in the two statements. Statement 1 tells us that x when divided by 7 leaves us a remainder of 5. Statement 2 tells us that x when divided by 9 gives us a remainder of 3. So, the first thing that we need to find out is we need to figure out such x that when divided by 7 will leave a remainder of 5 and when divided by 9 will leave a remainder of 3. We can pick one such value. Then from there we can actually quickly list down what next values will basically satisfy this condition. Right? If you recollect what we did with the previous two things, go back to this thing. 12 satisfied the condition for statement 2. 12 also satisfied the condition for statement 1. So, if we quickly check out, 12 is the first number that x can take that will satisfy both these conditions, that when divided by 7 it leaves a remainder of 5 and when divided by 9 it leaves a remainder of 3. The next number in the set, this number, if you look at the first sequence, it goes in increment of 7 because we're going to add 7 more to each of these to get the same thing. 12 plus 7 is 19. 19 when divided by 7 leave you a remainder of 5. The second set of numbers will go in increments of 9. So we have to pick a value which is going to be common to both these sets. In what increment will it go? That is going to go in increments of the LCM of 7 and 9. The LCM of 7 and 9 is equal to 63. So the second number in this sequence, without really listing down all numbers in the sequence to get there, is going to be 63 more than 12, which actually is equal to 75. The next number in the sequence is going to be 63 more than that, that actually is going to be equal to 138. 75 plus 63 is 138. Let's check out if you're getting a uniform remainder. If you get uniform remainder with these things, then the data is sufficient. If you're not getting a uniform remainder, then we can say that despite combining the information in the two statements, we're not getting a uniform remainder. When x is divided by 6, if x is equal to 12, you know the remainder is 0. When x is divided by 6, if x is equal to 75, the remainder becomes 3. Are we getting a uniform remainder? No, no uniform remainder. So despite combining the two statements, we're still not getting a uniform answer. So we can rule out answer choice C as well. What we are left with is answer choice E. Quickly recollect what we got. Statement 1 alone is not sufficient. So with that we ruled out answer choices A and D. Statement 2 alone is not sufficient. So we added one more to the list. We ruled out answer choice B. We combined the data. Despite combining them, we couldn't get a uniform answer. So we eliminated answer choice C as well. So what we are left with is choice E is the answer. If you're looking for more such questions, visit our website www.q-51.com, the 4GMAT initiative. If you like this video, forward it to your friends and share it with your friends. If you have any comments or suggestions, send an email to us at info@4gmat.com. Best wishes for your GMAT preparation.